Welcome, you're watching Vox News, your daily evening news with Rita Kamkumo. Our headlines today: South Africa is preparing to roll out Africa's first coronavirus vaccine trial. Participants are to be vaccinated this week. The government of Gambia denies rumors of plans to decriminalize homosexuality in exchange for aid funds and reiterates its stance. Burundi appoints its new prime minister in 22 years, influential army general Alain Bunyoni. Our top story today: South Africa announced on Tuesday that it is preparing to roll out Africa's first COVID-19 vaccine trial this week as the authorities are battling with the ever-increasing number of virus infections in the country. Researchers at the Oxford Jenner Institute developed the candidate vaccine, which is currently on trial in the United Kingdom. Wits University in Johannesburg is collaborating with the University of Oxford and the Oxford Vaccine Group on the country's vaccine pilot, which will involve 2,000 volunteers, including 50 HIV-positive people. The news of the launch of human clinical trials of a COVID-19 vaccine comes a day after the authorities reported that the country of 57 million inhabitants has recorded over 100,000 confirmed coronavirus cases, the highest number recorded on the continent since the beginning of the pandemic. Meanwhile, as the country prepares to roll out its first coronavirus vaccine trial, South African Health Minister Dr. Zweli Mkhize attended the opening of a new coronavirus field hospital on Tuesday in a disused Volkswagen factory built in collaboration with the German car maker in the southern city of Port Elizabeth.
A total of 3,300 beds coming along with oxygen reticulation. All of this is a very important combination of what our needs are at this point. This has been now established within a record time. It is a very special occasion where we demonstrate the support, the solidarity, the friendship between the people of South Africa and the people of Germany, and the relationship between the two governments. VW is a very well-known brand in this country, established in 1946, has been said is the largest German investment in South Africa.
Hospitals in the Nelson Mandela Bay municipality decided on Monday to implement emergency plans as the number of virus cases in the metro neared 5,000, a figure which is expected to double in the next 10 days.
The rapid rise of the number of people testing positive in the Nelson Mandela Bay metro is overwhelming our health institutions and its frontline workers. As a corporate citizen of the metro, Volkswagen is deeply troubled by the dire situation at these institutions, some of which are exacerbated by external trivial factors that could be avoided. The challenges that have been caused by the COVID-19 pandemic require us to put the interests and well-being of our 1.3 million people in the metro, the majority of whom hail from informal settlements, first in all the decisions that we make.
It is also on Tuesday, in the same Eastern Cape province where the new coronavirus field hospital opened, that the authorities reported that more than 200 students and staff members at the Makula Senior Secondary School tested positive for coronavirus while returning to a boarding school. The government of the Gambia reiterated its stance against homosexuality on Tuesday, dismissing widely spread rumors of plans to soften its homosexuality laws in exchange for aid funds. Government spokesman Ibrahima Sankare said the country will neither decriminalize homosexuality nor even entertain a review of its laws, and described the rumors that have been circulating for weeks as false political propaganda. The government statement comes after the European Union delegation in the country uploaded social media posts on the 17th of May denouncing the exclusion of gay people from society, which raised an outcry for weeks among religious leaders and opposition politicians. The country, where homosexuality is illegal under the Criminal Code of 1934, introduced a new criminal law of aggravated homosexuality in 2014, which carries stricter punishments of up to life in prison. In Malawi, vote-counting is underway after citizens headed to polls for the second time in just over a year on Tuesday to elect their new president after the justice annulled Peter Mutharika's victory in the May 2019 presidential election over fraud accusations in a landmark ruling.
We have had no challenges during the voting process from the time of opening at 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Every person was free to elect a presidential candidate of their choice without being intimidated.
3 candidates are in the running for this presidential election rerun, while Peter Mutharika and Lazarus Chakwera are once again facing each other after the Constitutional Court ordered the holding of fresh elections earlier this year. Peter Kuwani of the Bakuwaku Movement for Development, the third candidate in the race, hailed the Electoral Commission on Tuesday for the smooth running of this year's vote. In Burundi, the National Assembly approved on Tuesday the nomination of influential General Alain-Guillaume Bunyoni as Prime Minister, made by the newly invested President Evariste Ndayishimiye, re-establishing the position of Prime Minister abolished in 1998. 48-year-old Bunyoni, a close ally of the late President Pierre Nkurunziza during his 15-year rule, was appointed with an overwhelming majority in a session boycotted by the opposition. The former security minister becomes the first person to take on the role in 22 years. The parliament also elected Prosper Bazambanza, who served as vice president under Nkurunziza between 2014 and 2015 as vice president of the republic. In Sudan, the authorities announced on Tuesday that the country is close to finalizing a deal with the United States to compensate the victims of Al-Qaeda's 1998 attacks on United States embassies in Kenya and Tanzania that killed 224 people and wounded 5,000. Foreign Minister Asma Abdallah stated that a Sudanese delegation in Washington is negotiating with the victims' lawyers and American officials. This announcement comes after the Supreme Court of the United States ruled last month that the victims of the tragedy are eligible for punitive damages from Sudan, which was found to have assisted the terrorist organization at the time by hosting members of the Islamist movement as well as Osama bin Laden on its soil. Compensating the victims is a way for Sudan to get off the list of countries sponsoring terrorism, according to the United States, a label that prevents the country from benefiting from part of the international financial system.
That has been on this court roll since 2018.
In South Africa, former President Jacob Zuma returned to court on Tuesday for his pre-trial hearing in a 15-year-old corruption case against him, in which he is accused of having received 4 million rands, or about $221,000 in bribes from the French company Thales as part of arms contract awarded in 1999. Last February, after Mr. Zuma did not show up to a hearing due to health problems, the justice immediately issued an arrest warrant against him, forcing him to appear before the court.
The learned judge at the time sort of disbelieved the letter from the doctor and issued a warrant of arrest. But to put that matter to bed once and for all, we've tried to get the doctor again, who was disbelieved, whose note was disbelieved, to do it again to indicate that Mr. Zuma was indeed in Cuba and he was ill.
After prosecution and defense attorneys clashed over the much-delayed proceedings, the judge decided to adjourn the hearing.
Mr. Zuma, your matter is adjourned to the 8th of September, and unfortunately you're warned to be back here in this court on that date.
Former head of state and the electronics group have always denied these accusations. In Algeria, the parliament adopted on Tuesday a law instituting an annual Memorial Day, the 8th of May, in honor of the massacres perpetrated by French colonial troops in the northeast of the country on the 8th of May in 1945. This new law, voted unanimously at the National Assembly, aims to remember the crimes perpetrated by French colonialism. On the 8th of May 1945, while France was celebrating the victory of democracies over Nazism, separatist demonstrations took place in Sétif, Guelma and Kerata, 3 cities in eastern Algeria, where nationalists were marching while displaying Algerian flags. They were brutally repressed by French colonial forces, causing thousands of deaths. Finally, on the football scene, Brazilian and Spanish duo Willian and Pedro announced on Tuesday that they will finish the 2019-2020 season at Chelsea, although their deals were set to expire on the 30th of June. The players chose to extend their Chelsea contracts through to the end of the football season and to commit for the remaining 8 more championship matches to play, plus at least a quarter-final of the Cup of England. That's it for today. Thank you for watching Vox News.